travel today is safe and routine, but that wasn't always the case. In the early days of aviation, planes were often dangerous, experimental machines. Early pilots didn't just need skill, they needed bravery too. And one of the earliest aviation pioneers was a woman named Bessie Coleman, the first black person to earn an international pilot's license and a trailblazer for anyone who's ever looked up to the sky. Born in 1892, Elizabeth Coleman was the 10th out of 13 children to George and Susan Coleman. George was part Cherokee and Susan was black. Growing up during the height of segregation, Coleman's only chance at an education saw her walking 4 miles to school each day. However, young Elizabeth, called Bessie by her friends, was an excellent student. There were hardships. Her father left the family when she was only 12 years old, but Bessie continued to excel. She enrolled in the Oklahoma-colored Agricultural University, though she only had enough money to complete 1 term at the school. In her early 20s, Bessie moved to Chicago and worked as a manicurist. There, she learned all about World War I and the first airplane battles during the war. Compared to modern fighter jets, these early planes were slow, fragile, and very unsafe. But even so, they'd already made a big difference in the war. At the time, no American flight schools would accept an African-American student. So, Bessie learned a little bit of French and moved to Paris. There she enrolled in flight school, and within a year she had earned her pilot's license, being the first black person and the first person of Native American heritage to do so. When Bessie returned home to the United States, she became a minor celebrity. People were amazed by the feats of Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart, and now they were amazed by Bessie. She soon began working as what she called a barnstormer, which meant that she would perform wild aerodynamic stunts in her plane to thrill local crowds. In the days before television, traveling shows like this could provide good, steady income. At the time, few people had even seen an airplane flying in real life, let alone seeing one perform loop-de-loops and rolls, and that was even more thrilling. She even had her own nickname, Queen Bessie. As we mentioned before, World War I had seen the first military airplanes, but these were not very different from the planes flown by everyone else. So once the war was over, the US government had a lot of planes that they no longer had any use for. They took off the machine guns and sold the planes to anyone who would buy them. This made certain planes, like the Curtiss JN-4, very popular among stunt pilots. Nicknamed the Jenny, this was the type of airplane that Bessie flew throughout most of her career. However, despite flying a very common plane, Bessie's reputation was anything but. Queen Bessie was known for being extremely daring, often performing perilous stunts that other flyers believed were reckless. Figure eights, loops, low-altitude dips, they were all part of Bessie's repertoire. Not only that, but Bessie was a pioneer. She was a tireless advocate for African Americans, and she wouldn't perform at air shows that didn't admit black spectators. She also spoke openly about the need for better opportunities for African American workers. She even turned down a role in an early movie about pilots because of the negative way it portrayed the average African American. Sadly, Bessie's luck wouldn't last forever. In 1926, Bessie and her flying partner, William Wills, were scouting out the location for their next airshow performance. They were flying a plane that had previously had mechanical problems. Though they believed they had fixed the issues, there turned out to be more problems with the plane than they realized. While on their scouting flight, the plane suddenly went into a steep dive. Onlookers watched in horror as Bessie was thrown from the Jenny at a height of 2,000 feet. She was killed instantly. William died when the plane crashed into the ground nearby. Though her career ended in tragedy, Bessie was an aviation pioneer. She had big dreams, managing to achieve more in her life than almost anyone at the time believed was possible, and inspiring many others to dream of a life in the clouds. So the next time that you hear a plane overhead, give a thought to Queen Bessie and her amazing aerial career.